There exists in the annals of American government a species of creature so perfectly adapted to its environment that one might almost admire the evolutionary cunning required to produce it. I speak, of course, of the courtier, that ancient and contemptible type who, lacking any discernible talent beyond the capacity for genuflection, rises through sheer force of sycophancy to positions for which they are laughably unqualified. Kash Patel, the current director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, represents perhaps the purest specimen of this genus ever to slither across the marble floors of Washington. Here is a man who has authored a trilogy of children's books in which he casts himself, and I must ask the reader to absorb this fully, as Kash the Distinguished Discoverer, a wizard who assists a noble monarch called King Donald in defeating such villains as Hillary Quinton and Comma. The FBI headquarters, in this fever dream of narcissistic fantasy, is reimagined as slug stables in a shadowy corner of the castle. One hardly knows whether to laugh or to weep at the psychopathology on display. That such a man now commands an agency of some 38,000 employees and wields a budget exceeding $10 billion is either a savage joke or evidence that the American experiment has finally succumbed to terminal absurdity. I incline toward the latter interpretation. The qualifications question deserves more than passing attention. Every previous FBI director in living memory has brought to the position extensive senior law enforcement experience. Patel's resume, by contrast, reads like the curriculum vitae of a man perpetually auditioning for a role he has not earned, a stint as a public defender in Miami, some years shuffling papers at the Department of Justice, a period as a congressional aide to Devin Nunes, a man whose primary contribution to public life has been to demonstrate that one can achieve high office while apparently suffering from a complete absence of intellectual curiosity. This is the background that supposedly prepares one to lead the nation's principal criminal investigation agency. One might as well appoint a carnival barker to perform neurosurgery on the grounds that both professions involve working with heads. That Patel was the primary architect of the notorious Nunes memo tells you everything you need to know about his relationship to truth. The man's entire career has been an exercise in the manufacture of convenient fictions. He has promoted the fantasy of Italygate, a conspiracy theory so preposterous that it would embarrass the more creative writers of airport thrillers. The claim that an Italian defense contractor conspired with the Central Intelligence Agency to alter the 2020 election results. He has appeared more than 50 times on podcasts affiliated with QAnon, that seething cauldron of American lunacy, which holds that the nation is secretly controlled by Satan-worshipping pedophiles who harvest chemicals from the blood of trafficked children. When confronted about inscribing copies of his children's books with WWWG1WGA, the movement's slogan, Patel offered the memorable defense that he disagrees with a lot of what that movement says, but agrees with a lot of what that movement says. This is not nuance. This is the verbal equivalent of a man attempting to exit a room through both the door and the window simultaneously. The sane Republican officials who encountered Patel during Trump's first administration understood immediately what they were dealing with. Attorney General William Barr, hardly a man given to excessive squeamishness, declared that Patel's appointment as Deputy FBI Director would happen over my dead body. CIA Director Gina Haspel threatened to resign rather than accept him. Defense Secretary Mark Esper has stated that Patel lied about whether Nigeria had approved a hostage rescue operation, thereby endangering American lives. General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reportedly confronted White House officials about Patel with sufficient volume and persistence to alarm passers-by. These are not bleeding heart liberals. These are Trump's own appointees, and to a person they recognize the man as a danger. But danger, apparently, is precisely what was wanted. Patel has published what can only be described as an enemies list, 60 names, included as an appendix to his book Government Gangsters, of individuals he identifies as members of the executive branch deep state, a phrase he defines as the most dangerous threat to our democracy. The list includes former presidents, vice presidents, and a considerable number of people who committed the unforgivable crime of declining to participate in Trump's various conspiracies against the Republic. Patel has promised to come after these people. "We will go out and find the conspirators," he told Steve Bannon, "not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. Note the admission of uncertainty about whether crimes have actually been committed. The investigation will proceed regardless. The legal theory can be developed later. This is the methodology of the show trial, the Star Chamber, the midnight knock on the door. And what has this crusader for justice been doing since assuming command of the FBI? The record is illuminating. He has used agency Gulfstream jets to attend concerts performed by his 27-year-old country singer girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. He has assigned FBI SWAT personnel, elite tactical operators trained for the most dangerous operations in law enforcement, to serve as her personal security detail. On more than one occasion, he has ordered these specialists to drive her allegedly inebriated friends home after nights of revelry in Nashville. When the leader of the security detail objected to these duties, Patel called to berate him. The director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, commanding perhaps the most consequential law enforcement agency on Earth, has apparently confused his role with that of a nightclub promoter. The Brown University mass shooting of December 2025 provided a stark demonstration of Patel's operational competence, or rather, its complete absence. Within hours of the tragedy, Patel announced on social media that a person of interest had been detained. This person was released shortly thereafter, having apparently no connection whatsoever to the attack. It was a performance that echoed his handling of the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation months earlier, when he similarly rushed to social media with premature claims of an arrest. The FBI subsequently posted security camera footage that included the home addresses of the citizens whose cameras had captured the images, a blunder so elementary that one can only assume basic operational security has been abandoned as an institutional priority. When agents finally located the Brown shooter dead in a storage unit, it was difficult not to wonder whether the resolution had occurred despite, rather than because of, the FBI's leadership. The Charlie Kirk investigation revealed additional dimensions of Patel's character. According to reports, when he arrived in Salt Lake City to oversee the case, he refused to exit the FBI jet until agents located a medium-sized FBI raid jacket for him to wear before the cameras. The jacket had to be fitted with shoulder patches borrowed from a female agent. Meanwhile, agents who should have been pursuing leads were instead rummaging through storage closets to accommodate the director's vanity. Patel has denied this account, but the denial itself is instructive. The director of the FBI felt obligated to address, during a Fox News interview, allegations that he had delayed crime scene work for a wardrobe fitting. These are not the concerns of a serious law enforcement professional. These are the preoccupations of a reality television contestant. One might pause to consider the profound irony of a man who claims to be battling the deep state while simultaneously directing its most powerful domestic investigative arm. The cognitive dissonance required to maintain this position would crush a lesser mind, but Patel has proven remarkably resilient in this regard. Having spent years promoting conspiracy theories about FBI corruption, he now demands that we trust him absolutely. Having called for the prosecution of journalists, he complains of unfair coverage. Having published a literal enemies list, he insists under oath before the Senate Judiciary Committee that no such list exists. "I do not have an enemies list," he told Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, apparently expecting no one to remember the appendix to his own book. The grift has been comprehensive. Patel founded the Kash Foundation, ostensibly to assist January 6th participants with their legal costs. He has sold wine branded with his name, the S replaced with a $sign, KTH, in case the symbolism might otherwise escape notice. He has hawked supplements that purport to detoxify the supposed negative effects of COVID vaccines, medical claims that exist in the same relationship to science as his political claims do to reality. The man has built an entire economy around the manufacture and monetization of grievance, and he has now been rewarded with control of one of the most powerful law enforcement agencies in the Western world. This is a wizard, certainly, but of the shabby variety one finds operating three-card Monte games on street corners. The internal reports are damning. FBI personnel have described Patel as insecure, prone to tantrums, and lacking the composure to withstand routine scrutiny. His composure erodes very quickly when confronted by critics, according to one assessment, a reflection of Director Patel's lack of self-confidence. This from the agency he purports to lead. Even Tucker Carlson, hardly a figure known for skepticism toward the MAGA project, has expressed his lack of confidence in Patel's leadership. "This dumb Twitter shit," Carlson observed, regarding the director's habit of making major investigative announcements via social media. Leaders of the FBI on Twitter, like what? One finds oneself in the unusual position of agreeing with Tucker Carlson, a circumstance that feels vaguely unsanitary but is nonetheless unavoidable. Reports have surfaced that Trump himself has grown frustrated with the unflattering headlines Patel generates, that contingency plans for his replacement are circulating among administration officials, that Attorney General Pam Bondi has found his premature social media announcements to be threats to ongoing investigations. The man is on thin ice, apparently, though one suspects the ice in question is the thick polar variety that takes considerable effort to penetrate. Incompetence of this magnitude is almost always rewarded in the current dispensation. Nearly a quarter of FBI agents have reportedly been reassigned to immigration enforcement, work that does not fall within the Bureau's traditional purview and which necessarily comes at the expense of counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and the investigation of violent crime. This is the transformation of a law enforcement agency into a political instrument, the subordination of public safety to ideological performance. And at the helm stands a man whose primary qualification appears to be his willingness to do whatever is asked of him, legal niceties be damned. Perhaps the most revealing episode of Patel's tenure involves his former ally Stephen Friend, a far-right FBI agent who had gained fame in MAGA circles for his own anti-establishment posturing. Patel fired Friend after Friend accused him of covering up aspects of a pipe bomb investigation. The movement is now devouring its own, the conspiracy theorist-in-chief finding himself accused of conspiracy by his fellow travelers. There is a certain grim comedy in watching a man who has made his career on paranoid accusations now being subjected to the same treatment. One might almost feel sympathy, if sympathy for such figures were not itself a form of moral negligence. What we are witnessing is the reduction of serious government to comic opera, except that the casualties are real and the damage is lasting. An agency tasked with protecting the nation from terrorism and investigating federal crimes is now led by a man who writes children's books about himself as a wizard, who courts the approval of people who believe in blood-drinking pedophile cabals, who uses government aircraft to attend his girlfriend's performances, and who cannot refrain from announcing investigative breakthroughs that prove, within hours, to be entirely false. The FBI deserves better. The country deserves better. The very concept of law enforcement deserves better. Kash Patel is not merely unqualified, he is the embodiment of a contempt for qualification itself, the personification of a political movement that has concluded expertise is just another form of elitism to be swept away. He is what you get when loyalty becomes the only metric and competence an afterthought. He is the natural consequence of deciding that owning the libs matters more than governing the country. And he is, one suspects, exactly what was intended all along. Not a director of the FBI, but a destroyer of it, appointed to hollow out an institution from within while wearing its uniform and claiming its authority. The wizard, it turns out, has no magic at all, only a willingness to perform whatever trick his master demands. The children's book, in retrospect, was not fantasy but prophecy, a simple tale for simple minds, in which the virtuous king triumphs over his enemies through the efforts of a faithful servant who asks no questions and does exactly as he is told. That this servant is now the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation is the punchline to a joke that stopped being funny some considerable time ago.